Chat, welcome back to another banger for you guys. Welcome back. College season is almost among us. We are 22 days away. 22 days away. And what better way to celebrate than to talk about some DraftKings future bets? We got sleeper picks. We got some locks for the season. We're gonna start talking about some betting odds for the upcoming college football season. There's a lot to go over today, so let's hop right into it. We're going to start off with the Heisman odds on DraftKings. This was pulled yesterday as of 8-6, and we wrote down some notes. We got everything for you guys covered here today. At the number one favorite spot for Heisman right now, you got CJ Carr. His odds are at 700 last year. As you know, CJ Carr, last year he ended on a 10-game win streak. He is favored right now because last year he was a true freshman, if I'm not mistaken. He had 2,700 yards, 24 TDs, and an 83 QBR. He is favored right now, but I don't think that is a good pick, even though he's favored, because his schedule is not that difficult this year. As you know, the Heisman is voted at the end of the season. It goes to the best player on the best team. Fernando, he won it last year. He beat a head-to-head with Julian Sayin, who was also a finalist. As side note, Julian Sayin is the only finalist to be returning this season. So CJ Carr is favorited, but he doesn't face any great teams. I don't see him making a deep run into the playoffs. The over-under for wins for Notre Dame right now is 11.5, so they are expecting Notre Dame to win every single game. If they were to drop a game, I believe they might not make it to the playoffs if they were to lose against Miami, right? I don't see them making a deep run in the playoffs. I see them getting bounced pretty early. The next person that is on this list is Arch Manning. Arch Manning has 750 odds last year. He went on a crazy hot streak at the end of the year. The last three games, I believe he averaged about 300 yards. He's got new weapons. He's got Cam Coleman and Ryan Wingo as their wide receivers over there. The last 8 games, he was on fire. He averaged a total of 251 yards per game with a 61% accuracy. That is absolutely crazy. As the year progressed, he got more comfortable and kind of settle into this offense that Texas was running. You can see he was more comfortable in the pocket. He wasn't making the same mistakes. He was letting the ball go a little bit better. He was favored to win the Heisman last year, but this year he is being more complete, right? That last year against Ohio State, he was very timid. Him and Julian Sayin really hadn't found their footing yet, but I think that ultimately the Heisman odds between Arch Manning at 750 and Julian Sayin at 1,200 will kind of come into fruition after week 2 when Ohio State and Texas both play each other. Speaking of Julian Sayin at 1,200, you got Dante Moore at 1,000. We'll circle back to him, but Julian Sayin at 1,200. Only finalist to return in college football for the Heisman finalist last year. I feel like Julian Sand has a great chance, the highest chance for me of winning the Heisman because of his depth at the receivers, this depth at running back. He's got offensive weapons across the board, whether that's Chris Henry Jr., whether that's Brandon Ennis, whether that's Jeremiah Smith. He's got the best receiver in college football right now in Jeremiah Smith. I think that's kind of going to overshadow his ability, but I think Julian Sayin is my number one pick for the Heisman last year. Julian Sayin, he had 3,600 yards, 32 TDs, and an 88 QBR. He was second in total touchdowns for quarterbacks. He was the most accurate quarterback in their first year at 77%. And like I talked about, he's got an abundance of weapon. Circling back to Dante Moore, his odds are at 1,000 this upcoming year. Last year, 3,500 yards, 32 TDs, and a 78 QBR. I'm kind of skeptical of Dante Moore right now. As you know, they lost their offensive coordinator, Will Stein, to Kentucky. Will Stein, quarterback whisperer. He coached Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, who was also a finalist in the Heisman, as well as Dante Moore. Will Stein doubled the production of each one of those quarterbacks. Each one of those quarterbacks had over, I believe, a 70.5% accuracy rate under Will Stein at that offensive position. So I'm interested to see that first 2 weeks of that Oregon team to see how they kind of level out and whether they're able to move the ball as well as they did under that Will Stein. And then lastly, you have Darian Mensah over there at Miami. His odds are at 1,200 His odds are at 1,200 right now. He was second in total yards at nearly 4,000. He ended with 3,973 yards. 34 TDs, which was first in his 76 QBR. He has a very high ceiling with this Miami team. He's got the second best receiver in Malachi Tony. His offense will feature both Darian Minta and Malachi Tony very heavily. Last year, Minta had more 300-yard games than he had games of below 200 yards. He had 4 games throwing over 300 yards and only had 2 games below 200, one being 196 and one being 175. I like Darian Minta on this Heisman finalist list, but I'm not sure how he'll kind of shape up in that ACC league. Right, last year he was at Duke, so this is his believe third year. So I'm excited to see what kind of changes he makes. He will be playing some more inept team. He will be playing some better teams, playing for that Miami team, and I'm excited to see where this Heisman race kind of shakes up. Right, by that third week, we'll have all these quarterbacks. We'll have all the notes that we need to figure out who is currently at the number one spot for that Heisman, right? How does CJ Carr look without those two top tier running backs who got drafted first round last year? How does Arch Manning look with his offensive weapons, and is his offensive line able to protect him, right? How does Dante Moore with Will Stein without Will Stein look? How does Julian Sand look with those three different receivers, and does Jeremiah Smith being so good and kind of having that top end overshadow what Julian Sand is looking like, and does Darian Minta find his footing over there in Miami? Next, we're going to get into some conference titles. Right now, for the ACC conference champion, Miami is looking at a minus 136. I think that this is a kind of guaranteed lock right now, with Miami having the best roster out of all those ACC teams. You got all stars on that defense and offense for Miami. You have Bryce Fitzgerald. He had 6 interceptions and 10 touchdowns last year. He was a freshman all team defense, right? And that is a freshman. He is only getting better. He's going to learn more. He's going to learn what these offensive schemes look like. He is going to continue to make an upward trajectory and continue to improve on the success that he has last year. We already touched on Malachi Tony and that quarterback Darian Minta. But another sneaky thing that Miami has is that Mark Fletcher. Not so sneaky because he had nearly 1,200 yards rushing last year, 12 TDs, and average 5.5 yards per carry. So Miami is a very complete team over there at the ACC. I don't see them having a hard time getting to that ACC championship game and then taking it out. I'm really hoping to see what they look like in the playoffs, right? Mario Cristobal, he said that he doesn't want any of his coach's salary this year. He wants it all to go to NIL money. So Miami is looking past their season. Yes, you take it game by game, but they're looking at making a deep run into the playoffs. Right now in the Big 12, you're looking at either Texas Tech or BYU as a conference champion. Texas Tech is minus 105 and BYU is plus 550. Texas Tech, they're going to come very hard and very fast on defense. They had one of the top 5 defenses in college football last year. They were top 5 in 4 of the 5 best categories for defense and sacks, yards allowed, and so on and so forth. BYU, they're kind of hanging around. As you know, that Christian Bowl in Week 10 between BYU and Utah will ultimately kind of determine what that Big 12 championship looks like. For the Big 10, you got the Big 3. You already know Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. Ohio State is sitting at plus 18 right now. Indiana is plus 250, and Oregon is plus 260. Indiana, they have a veteran quarterback right now. He has the most yards of all quarterbacks in the league as in career wise for college football right now. You're looking at Josh Hoover. I don't know how he's going to turn out in that Big Ten, facing these Big Ten defenses between Oregon and Ohio State. All of these teams play each other this year, so we'll kind of see how that shapes up. We know what Ohio State brings to the table. During Big Ten Media Days, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Day, Julian Sand, they all had the same 3 goals, each and every single one of them. Not a single individual goal was listed. Each of them was a team goal. Big Ten title, national championship, beat the team up north, right? When you have alignment from your team and your coach like that, you're supremely locked in, right? Coach Signetti, he said, Google me. We know he knows how to win. We're not even going to go down that road and challenge him and ask him what he's going to do this season. He is going to win games. I'm expecting Ohio State to beat Indiana twice this year. Once during the regular season and once during the Big Ten title game, as well as Oregon. I got Ohio State winning that Big Ten conference game. In the SEC right now, you got Georgia at plus 260, Texas at plus 310, and Texas A&M at plus 550. I think it is a toss up between Georgia and Texas right now. Georgia, they have a culture of winning. They've been featured in 14 of the last 16 SEC championships. They've won 5 of the last 6 SEC championships. Kirby Smart, that man just knows how to win, right? This man wins at the highest level. He hasn't won a championship since 2021, 2022 when he won back to back, if I'm not mistaken. But the SEC conference run through Georgia. So for anybody to not put Georgia at the number one spot for SEC conference champion at the start of the season is kind of unreal, right? So we know what Georgia brings to the table. I think Texas has big question marks around the continuity of their team. How does Cam Coleman and Ryan Wingo fit with that Arch Manning at quarterback? How does that Texas defense look with Austin coming back on the DN? He's one of the top rated defensive ends right now on that team. So I'm excited to see what this Texas defense is coming out, how that comes together. We know Texas A&M, their defense is going to be stellar. That boils down to their quarterback, Marcel Reed, right? How does he perform in big games? Is he able to protect the football? Last year, I believe he threw 3 interceptions in his final game during the playoffs. And then a sneaky pick for the SEC conference champion right now, LSU at 5th at plus 900. We have covered LSU a lot on this channel. Lane Kiffin knows how to win. He's got the number one transfer class right now between Sam Levitt, Prince Well, and all of those different position groups that they added to their team. So expect LSU to make a big splash this year. For my pick for the SEC champion, I'm going to go with Texas. I think Texas kind of finds their footing. You know, Steve Sarkisian, he struggled a little bit in the SEC and not been very good during the playoffs. But I think Texas takes a big leap here. I think they come out SEC champions. I think they make a deep run in the playoffs. Unless they play Ohio State, Ohio State's going to beat them. And then we go from there. And then looking at the college football champion, you got Ohio State plus 600, Notre Dame at plus 650, Oregon plus 750, Texas at plus 750, and Indiana plus 800. We know once that ball is hyped, the odds don't matter. What roster doesn't matter. It does a mano a mano, right? It's going to go down to coaches and players and how they execute. Ohio State being at plus 600, being the number one AP ranked team right now is very exciting. But who knows what'll happen in the playoffs? I have Ohio State winning it all. Notre Dame, they are plus 650 right now. I don't see Notre Dame making a deep run in the playoffs because of their schedule. I don't think they come into the playoffs at their best, right? To be at your best going into the playoffs, you have to have some adversity through the regular season. And I think Notre Dame's hardest game against Miami isn't going to be that adversity test needed to make a deep run. Oregon at 750, Dante Moore and their coach, I think, are going to struggle like they do year over year. Dan Lanning, fun side note about Dan Lanning, he has lost to every time he's lost in the playoffs, he's lost to the eventual champion, Ryan Day. He did kind of face these similar struggles as I was researching what had happened. He had lost to Clemson in 2019, Ryan Day and Ohio State, who would go on to be the eventual champions, and they would also lose to Georgia, who would go on to the eventual champion. So Dan Lanning, this might be his breakout year. I don't want it to come to the expense at Ohio State, but that might happen. Texas, Steve Sarkisian, his roster is fully loaded. I don't think anybody from the SEC is going to make that big jump to that national title game. During the playoffs, SEC teams are 0-4 against Power 4 teams. So SEC just does not know what it takes to win games in the playoffs against those other conferences. And then Indiana, they got Kirk Cignetti, right? He knows how to win football games. He said, Google me. So those are what all of the DraftKings future bets look like. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. We got a lot of content coming soon. A lot of videos planned. I got a video around Ohio State coaches. I got a video surrounding analysis from Texas, Notre Dame, Oregon. A video about the best college games coming in the future. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know who you guys are going with for your betting odds this season.